Most World War II movies get the uniforms right and call it a day. But if you care about real history, tactics, equipment, what these guys went through, you can tell when they're cutting corners. Veterans notice too, and actual military historians definitely notice. These 10 films I'm about to talk about got it right. From submarine crews to medics under fire, every film on this list has been praised by historians for getting the hard stuff right. Memphis Belle tells the true story of a World War II bomber crew getting ready for their 25th mission. Back then, if you survived 25, you got to go home. The filmmakers started from a William Wyler documentary and did everything they could to keep it historically accurate. They used real B-17 bombers, 5 actual planes, no CGI. Matthew Modine even wore his uncle's original bomber jacket and uniform. His uncle flew real missions in World War II and later donated that uniform to charity. Military historians like James Rogers pointed out how spot-on the details were. Like at the end, when the bomber tries to land back in England all busted up, fuel leaking, landing gear damaged, Rogers said it perfectly captured the real-life dangers these crews faced. The Army's military strategy professor John Curatola backed that up too. He explained the movie didn't show one exact historical mission, but everything you see in it, planes colliding, crew trapped by centrifugal force, mechanical failures, those things really happened during real missions. That's how accurate it was. If we're talking about accuracy in war films, Das Boot is legendary. It follows the German submarine U-96 crew during World War II. Director Wolfgang Petersen went completely crazy about accuracy. He built a full-scale submarine set. Hydraulics made it tilt and shake violently. The actors actually trained like real submariners and stayed out of sunlight so they'd look authentically pale. And Petersen didn't just guess. He had real U-boat commanders advising every single day. Even Heinrich Lehmann-Willenbrock, the actual captain of U-96, was there. The author of the original book, Lothar Gunther Buchheim, wasn't thrilled about Petersen turning his anti-war story into more of an action movie, but even he admitted the technical accuracy was unbelievable. When I entered that boat replica for the first time in over 35 years, a reproduction of a Type 7C U-boat pressure hull, it hit me like a shock. I thought everything would be made of styrofoam, papier-mâché, plywood. But then I saw you could touch every handwheel, every valve, even the depth control buttons. I was surrounded by the same gauges I'd once seen in action. This one's about Hitler's final days trapped in a Berlin bunker as Germany collapsed around him. The filmmakers went all in to make it accurate, based directly on memoirs from Hitler's secretary, even including actual documentary footage of her. Ian Kershaw, basically the leading Hitler historian out there, said Downfall nailed it, not just historically, but emotionally too. The bunker's atmosphere, how Nazis switched from parties to talking about taking their own lives instantly. Exactly right. Kershaw said Bruno Ganz gave the most accurate performance of Hitler he'd ever seen. He said, "This is the only one which to me is compelling. Part of this is the voice." Ganz has Hitler's voice to near perfection. It is chillingly authentic. Lots of people hated this movie because it humanized Hitler too much, but Kershaw argued it captured those final terrible days in a way no history book or documentary ever could. Directed by Angelina Jolie, this movie tells the true story of Louis Zamperini, a US Olympic runner who crashed during World War II, survived 47 days stranded at sea, then ended up captured by the Japanese. One standout scene is an aerial dogfight, brief but incredibly detailed. Lieutenant Colonel Matt Zeman, a real pilot, scored the scene 9 out of 10 for accuracy. He pointed out how perfectly they captured the aerial combat, the attack patterns, how the crews reacted, even brass shell casings flying out of wings. Louis Zamperini himself got to see an early cut right before he died in 2014. Angelina Jolie personally brought it to him on a laptop. That's how committed they were to honoring the true story. There have been plenty of movies about D-Day, but almost none have nailed it like The Longest Day. Huge ensemble cast. Lots of the actors had actually served in World War II. The movie was based on Cornelius Ryan's book, written directly from interviews with real D-Day veterans and civilians. Producer Frank McCarthy knew from the start he couldn't fake the accuracy, so he hired real military experts, both Allied and German. We're talking actual German generals like Günther Blumentritt and fighter ace Josef Priller. They even brought in Rommel's wife as a consultant, plus 700 real soldiers were extras just to keep it completely authentic. Did all that pay off? Absolutely. The Longest Day earned $50 million at the box office back then. That'd be like $500 million today. It's still considered one of the most accurate World War II films ever made. Even John Wayne himself said he took the role because he knew the movie was genuinely important. This movie's about General George Patton, one of World War II's most famous and controversial figures. You've probably seen clips from the opening, the famous scene with Patton standing in front of that massive American flag, giving a super intense speech about how Americans love fighting. According to military historian Carlo D'Este, that speech is almost exactly word for word what Patton actually said to his troops in real life. But getting this movie made was a total nightmare. They were filming in Spain, and the Spanish army absolutely hated the script, thought it made Patton look like a complete jerk. The producer, Frank McCarthy, literally had to bring in US Army historians to convince Spain everything was historically accurate before they'd even let them film. When it finally came out in 1970, huge success. Made over $61 million. Critics were mixed, though. Some praised how real it felt, others thought it made Patton look way too much like a warmonger. But Patton's family, who for years refused to let anyone film his life story, actually liked it. They thought it got him exactly right. Spielberg basically changed how we see war movies forever with this one. You always hear about the opening scene at Omaha Beach, and there's a reason for that. Military historian Paul Woodidge interviewed actual D-Day veterans, and they all agreed. No movie before or since captured the chaos, the terror, and the confusion as well as Saving Private Ryan. Spielberg actually wanted that realism because he grew up hearing real war stories from his dad and his friends. And as a kid, he never understood why movies never felt as real as those terrifying stories. So when Spielberg shot the Omaha Beach scene, filmed in Ireland actually, he went all in. Soldiers throwing up before hitting the beach, guys drowning under their own gear, gunfire shredding troops the moment the landing ramps dropped. It was exactly what really happened. This one's all Christopher Nolan, and the thing historians keep saying is just how close he stuck to actual history. It's based on this book, American Prometheus, and Nolan basically used that as his blueprint. Science historian Alex Wellerstein pointed this out. He said Nolan nailed the details, both the science and Oppenheimer's complicated personal life. Some scenes in the movie are exactly how things happened historically. Sure, there are little dramatic tweaks, but overall it's incredibly accurate. Oppenheimer himself is tough to portray. He was complicated. Historians still argue about him all the time. Nolan didn't dumb any of that down. He kept things complex and still kept people interested for a solid 3 hours. That alone is pretty impressive. Another Nolan movie, and again, super authentic. No fake CGI here, no green screens. Nolan insisted on using real planes, real ships, even painted the ships in the exact British Navy colors from the war. An Air Force historian, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Zeman, praised a lot of details here, especially a scene where Tom Hardy's pilot torches his Spitfire after landing. Turns out, that's exactly what British pilots did back then to keep advanced technology out of enemy hands. Zeman said it's even standard procedure today. And the dogfight scenes, he pointed out how Nolan got the flight formations exactly right. Early war British Vic formations, historically dead-on accurate. Nolan himself said they used actual vintage Spitfires for all the flying scenes and only built exact replicas when they needed to crash something, because the real planes were priceless pieces of history.